Hello, listeners. Those familiar tones tell us it's time again for another exciting edition of the Cartoon Pad, the coolest destination for cartoonists of all stripes. I'm Michael Shaw, and joining us as always is the irrepressible Bob Eckstein and the equally irrepressible Marty Dundix. So, hello, Bob.
Michael, that's very impressive because I know you have no idea what was going to come out of your mouth. You have no idea what you're going to say. That is a pure ad lib, folks. Well done.
Usually it's just a slight bit of undigested food that comes out of my mouth. So
there you go. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I do miss you.
I miss you too, Bob.
It's good to see you.
I think we've drifted apart.
No, we're getting closer.
Okay, getting closer to our cartoon worlds.
Yeah, I moved closer to you. You're right now in Wisconsin, right?
I am in beautiful downtown Manitowoc, Wisconsin.
And I am closer to you because I moved from my bedroom to doing the podcast in the living room. So I'm a good 20 feet closer.
There we go. And are you still in the wilds of Pennsylvania?
No, I'm in New York City. I did miss Comic-Con, which we have to go to next year. That's something that I want to do with Marty and you. And I want to apologize for our absence of this year, but it's still kind of funky. I mean, people are just now getting used to coming back to doing things. And how is it out there in that part of the country? Are you going out without a mask? Are you meeting with people?
Well, fortunately, we always went out without a mask, but now there's half the number of people, so I'm feeling, a little safer.
Oh, good.
A little more secure.
Good.
I see Marty's checking in from an Embassy Suites.
Yeah, let's say hello, Marty.
I'm here.
Where?
I didn't. I'm in a bunker. I'm in a furnished bunker with beautiful, like hotel art.
Oh, it looks great.
You're surrounded by taupe and beige.
A lot of taupe, a lot of beige, and I'm in a sweater that actually I matched the couch today. I matched the couch cushions in my current shirt. Yeah, but that's okay. But it's nice to talk to you guys. We did miss Comic-Con. I was sad to miss Comic-Con. I've decided I'm going to become a person that goes to Comic-Con all the time.
Good. Are you going to wear a costume?
I want to be a person that, because when I was a kid growing up, I was obsessed with Ghostbusters, and I was always a Ghostbuster for Halloween for years and years, and I was a Ghostbuster nerd. And then you kind of get out of it in the movies, and then I discovered, and then Afterlife came out recently, which was kind of like a pickup of the original Ghostbusters story. It's very good, and I started kind of looking around at the amount of crazy people who were obsessed with Ghostbusters, who were like old men like me, and they really get into the cosplay of like making the proton packs and like making the outfits and like being their own Ghostbuster. Like they're not playing Venkman or Spangler, like they're their own nickname, and they work in their own. It's this bizarre. And then they all go to Comic-Con and they have all these like regional Ghostbusters groups. It's like this is crazy phenomenon of these people, and they do amazing things. So I ordered. So just as I was like, I want to get like a Ghostbuster outfit going together, and I want to do some Ghostbuster stuff. And then you look at it, and it's so hard to make these packs. Like the people that do it are so talented, and there's so much work that goes into all these, the molding of the pieces, and it's like it's like this prop artistry. And then right when I was kind of looking at all this stuff, this thing that never happened before happened, and it happened at the end of October. Do you know what it is, guys?
The World Series.
This group of Kickstarter toy makers inside of the Hasbro world, this thing called HasLabs. They started doing this thing where, if they want to do a toy, but they don't have enough interest to do a mass marketed toy, so they make a toy that's a limited run. And they say, if this many people pay us money, we'll make this toy. And they do that with all kinds of stuff like Star Wars and all that. So for the first time, they did a full-sized proton pack movie replica. And people make these things for like $3,000, and this Hasbro thing was like, well, we're going to make it, and it'll be $399 all in with this beautiful size. And I was like, okay. And it doesn't come out for 2 years. So I have to wait for my proton pack. So in 2 years, I'm going to have a great costume.
Bob,
I know,
Never bring up Comic-Con again.
I know.
Let's talk about Comic-Con.
No,
some more.
please.
Oh, boy.
Jeez. Oh, God. And listen,
who are you going to call?
We don't
You're
have
to call me.
we don't have to go.
Go
When we go next year, we don't have to
together.
go together. We can go separately. I only go with celebrities. Actually, every time I go to Comic-Con, I always go with someone who's going to have an entourage. The last time I went was with Bruce, the guy from Tron.
Bruce Jenner.
No, Bruce Box something.
Brooks Boxleitner?
Yeah, that's who I went with last time.
Bruce Box Cutter.
I was introduced to him, and we both agreed to go to Comic-Con together. And then another time I went with a friend, Gary, who is from the Antique Roadshow.
That's like the guys that like made who was the guy that was Bruce Banner in the original Incredible Hulk? Because Lou Ferrigno played the actual Hulk, but who played the human Hulk?
Oh, that was the courtship of Eddie's father's guy, Bill Bixby.
Yes,
Bill
thank you.
Bixby. Yeah. Bill Bixby.
Bill
Good call,
Bixby.
Shaw. Good call.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm going to do one more digression, but someone down the street has I don't know what it is. It's probably like a 72 Ford Bronco that he has outfitted in full Ghostbuster regalia.
Really? He made like an Ecto one out of his Ford Bronco?
And it's got the ghost with the red line through it.
They're all over the place. I see them. There's people that have these like minis. Like you're obsessed with the minis, right, Bob?
Take it back a notch. They're not all around everywhere.
Online they are. Like if you go on Instagram and you look for these Ghostbuster groups, there's people. They're everywhere making these. They're finding these old Miller Meteor ambulances from like the 50s, and they're making their own Ecto ones, and they're driving. There's one that just started out in New Jersey, and it drives from New Jersey to the Ghostbusters firehouse in Tribeca, as a promotional thing.
Okay. Life is lived
I'm
on
sorry,
levels.
I got off on a tangent.
Yeah, Michael, please finish your story. Let me hear the rest of your Ghostbuster vehicle, and don't get Marty so riled up.
I know. Go take a walk, Marty.
Now, Michael, do you think you can get the courage to ask for a ride? I think that's where I feel like you need some closure.
I've never seen the thing move for 2 years. I don't think it.
That's funny.
I think it's into the earth.
Well, I think what you did is you
Photo
planted the seed for both of us, though, to think of a Ghostbusters cartoon for this week. It's so timely.
If you guys did any Ghostbuster cartoon, I would immediately run it in Weekly Humorist.
Oh, good.
I did a cartoon of The Exorcist, but instead of the devil coming out, Casper the Friendly Ghost came out. And they say, I'm sorry, it's my first exorcism. That's all I got.
Okay, listen, we could save the show. We have a great guest today.
Let's pull this back from the brain.
We could save this. This is good. We have today one of the hottest cartoonists right now. Just this past month, he was featured in the Los Angeles Times, the Boston Globe, and the New Yorker. His work appears in Mad Magazine, the Weekly Humorist, one of our sponsors, Ulta Magazine, Wired, DC Comics, Wall Street Journal, and many other places. He's also a screenwriter, a producer, and a director of movies and music videos. Ivan Ehlers. Ehlers? Is that how you pronounce it? Ehlers. Just Ehlers. Yeah. Thank you. It's great to have you on.
Yeah, it's like one of 6 or 7 accepted pronunciations, but that was a nice intro, Bob. I don't feel like that much of a loser when you talk about me like that.
Oh, come on. We worked so hard to build you up. Took you 10 seconds to knock you down.
You know what? I'm going to knock myself down even further because I went to WonderCon this last weekend, it's like a smaller Comic-Con. It's put on by the same people who do Comic-Con, but it takes place in Anaheim, and it's mostly comic focused instead of everything that Comic-Con became. But they definitely had the Ghostbusters Los Angeles chapter there.
Nice.
Was there the vehicle?
No, it was next to. There's like 4 or 5 cosplay groups that they had all in the same corner. So they had like the Wall-E cosplayers that they make the little Wall-E little robot.
So are there people cosplaying as the fatties in the chairs that never get up?
That must have been most of the other people there.
That was the audience.
Ivan, the best part of my Comic-Con appearances has been seeing Robbie, I think it is. What's the robot from Lost in Space?
No,
Oh.
you're thinking of Robbie from Forbidden Planet.
No, but I am thinking of the robot from Lost in Space.
Oh, he
That's
didn't
always
have
been
a
the
name.
highlight.
Danger Will Robinson. He was nameless. He was just robot.
Oh, really? It's even more popular than the Monkey's vehicle, which people had to pay $20 to go behind the velvet, curtain, whatever, to get a selfie with.
Really? $20 for the car?
Well, I think Mickey was there too.
Oh, Mickey Dolenz.
Yeah, he was one of the guys.
I don't think Michael Naismith made it.
Marty has no idea what we're talking about. Well,
Talking about the monkeys. You're talking about the monkeys.
Oh, good for you. Look at
I
that.
bet that was some skanky velour in that monkey.
Marty's like in his late 20s. So I do want to ask you though. I mean, the Ghostbusters world is the car that's the coolest part, right? I mean, I think it's just the car.
The Ecto, no, that's not true. Knight Rider is just the car.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that Michael Knight had going for him was Knight Rider, and that was it. Kit, the car, that was cool.
Okay.
And then, I mean, they have these places like the DeLorean. Like it's amazing. Ivan, I'm sure, has seen this a lot because he lives in Tinseltown. But there are these people that own and maybe they make movie cars, and then you just see these movie cars at events and stuff, and it's like they just have them on like a lift or whatever, like a big tractor trailer, and you'll see a tractor trailer with these movie cars, and it'll be like Ecto 1, Herbie the Love Bug, the DeLorean. It'll be like the Scooby-Doo Mystery Machine. It's just like their job is just driving these like old crappy cars around, but they all they mean so much to people just because of the nostalgia. And I mean, like the Ecto 1 that's in the movie now was on the Sony backlot, completely forgotten for like 25 years. It was left out in the weather. It was disgusting. It was falling apart. And then the Ghostbuster fans like brought it to Sony's attention to be like, you got to bring this car back to life. What have you guys done to this beautiful piece of movie magic? And then they did. They rehabbed the whole thing.
I am a big fan of the Wienermobile. I will say that.
I think I remember in the end of my college days, they put out an application, and a college student gets to drive around in the Wienermobile for like a summer or a year or something.
Yeah.
And I remember when that application dropped, everybody was like, do I really want to do this? I guess maybe. And it was just like a year off driving around in the Wienermobile.
I've done a whole batch of New Yorker cartoons in my batch that I submitted. There was just Wienermobiles. And like one of them would say, I have a bumper sticker that say, my other car is a steak or something like that. But, I turned these in. I remember showing someone at the lunch, when we had lunches, asked, can I see your batch? Like we exchange batches. And so we're looking at each other's submissions. We'd make a Xerox copy and then we leave the original. And I remember Sid Harris looking at these Wienermobiles and just being appalled and saying, this is just so erotic and disgusting.
Really?
Yeah, this is a cartoonist, Sid Harris.
It certainly wasn't kosher either.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey, Bob,
my other car is a vegan.
How often do you do a whole batch riffing on one subject? Because I did it a couple times and I didn't know if that was a bad move to like overwhelm them with one topic.
Oh, I can answer that question. Yeah, it's a bad move.
Yeah.
I do it like almost every week.
I think it depends.
You do that often?
Stupid.
I think it depends on if it's a topical. If it's a hot topic, I'd say, and you're riffing on it, go for it.
Wienermobile, the hottest topic.
Yeah, I mean, if there was a Wienermobile tragedy.
Yeah, this year was all about, like this week, is all about Easter. I have everything about Easter. I have good peep and bad peep, instead of good cop, bad cop. I want all.
Are you fired up ahead of it? How far do you?
No, it makes no difference to me. Right. I'm not, yeah.
He's trying to sell it for next Easter anyway.
Yeah. That's probably about how far you have to be. What is it, like 3 months? Because people start sending in seasonal stuff earlier and earlier.
I was going to say, for me, it's 4 years.
Well, they used to put out, I haven't looked at this lately, but you got a list of the special issues coming up with the topics, and you could start aiming for those. And that was I used to sell quite a few doing that. I haven't checked them out lately.
Well, Michael, you're referring to the fashion issue?
Right.
The technical technology issue,
the literary issue,
the literary,
books,
right. There was a time in which the cartoonists were given a heads up when those issues were coming, and then you would gear your cartoons. And all joking aside, we would think about a month and a half in advance. We would think that's enough time, right, Michael? Would you say like
yeah? The funny thing I used to do is draw very narrow cartoons because these special issues would have so much content that they didn't have much room for a cartoon.
Oh,
So
really?
you do a very long, skinny, like snakes and fish and things that look kind of normal, as not take up a lot of room.
That's
So
smart.
that's strategery, my friend.
Yeah, got to strategize.
That's right.
Well,
did they ever do things in the New Yorker where that you were filling in something that wasn't a box and you had to do a cartoon that would be like a, like the way that they would do that in Mad Magazine? Like Mad Magazine would fill in gaps with like teeny doodles from different people or like little jokes.
Well, now they do spots. So I've
Yeah.
seen like cartoonists are doing spots now, which I think would be a sweet gig because it used to be the one guy in the very beginning who would just sit down. They would hand him the magazine and he would just draw them sitting at a table in about a half hour.
No,
Really?
but Michael, I want to remind you that going back to, I think it's the 70s, the cartoons could be irregular in shape, and they would run the text around it in the shape of a cartoon at times when they wanted to do something that was like a half a page or filled in an irregular amount of space left over. If you go back to some old New Yorkers, you'll see they were doing a lot of more creative design in the same way Rolling Stone did. The early Rolling Stone did a lot of ambitious type of design and really, try to come up with different fonts and different spaces and not be so, regimented.
But Ivan, I read you were a big Sergio Aragonés fan. You should pitch some spots.
Yeah, I know a few people that have done the spots recently, and it seems like a really fun gig. I saw the recent ones that Ed Steed did, and it seemed like it was like a series of a kid getting a different haircut and stuff like that. I thought that was so clever.
Yeah, it reminds me of a disassembled flip book.
Yeah, I could see that. But yeah, I've been thinking about putting together, because I do like that type of simple style where it doesn't necessarily need to be a joke. It could just be an interesting drawing that would stand on its own, presumably. But yeah, I'm going to try to go for that too.
And so it could be a narrative, but it doesn't have to be a narrative,
Right. Yeah.
Like together they're a series, but they stand on their own if they need to.
Yeah, Marty, you could just cover a theme. Yeah, maybe spring is coming, or it could be animal rights, which you could use that idea. Use that idea if you want.
You could do an egg hatching. It could take, 15 drawings for that egg to finally hatch.
That's right.
The chicken just walks off.
That's a great idea. If
stillborn egg the whole time.
Yeah,
just nothing ever happens to it.
Yeah.
I put together the Weekly Humorist as a print issue every week, which is very different than doing what I had. Doing a website. Like I'm doing reverse publishing, where I started as a website and now I'm also doing like a print, and I have a tablet that's like a tablet, like an e-reader, but there's like an actual hard copy, and filling in an actual magazine, there's a lot of holes that you don't realize when you're doing a website. You don't have any holes. And then when you do a magazine, you're like, oh, look at all these damn gaps I have to fill in. And then that's where ads come in, right? So it's like, I got to find some ads.
Marty, they're called ads.
I have to find ads that fit like this big and like all these weird shapes for ads. So maybe putting little doodles all throughout would be a fun idea.
Well, Marty, that's exactly why Barron started using cartoons. They had all those charts and they had all those financial results, and they had some empty spaces, and they just came up with the idea of doing cartoons. But then magazines stopped doing the layout that way, and they said there was no real use for the cartoons for what they saw as the purpose of cartoons. An example is Playboy Magazine. Playboy Magazine now has an online magazine that's just kind of ends.
Just like Bob did.
Yeah, we lost Bob.
It doesn't
just me.
Have any
Bob just died. Hit him in the chest.
gaps. It's just kind of like,
go.
You just scroll and
Bob's dead again. Hey, let's let Ivan talk for a while.
For a minute there, Bob.
Bob, we lost your whole thing about Playboy. You skipped
Thank
out for a
God.
moment.
No, I was just talking about the years I was a model, but let's switch over
Fantastic.
to Ivan, do you have a foot in over there in Hollywood? Are you doing anything with TV? I know I'm skipping around a bit, but I'm just curious.
Well, I'm certainly trying, and I've been putting together a whole lot of different pitch Bibles and pilot scripts and spec scripts and stuff like that. Originally, about like 20 years ago, that's what I wanted to do, was just do movies and be a director, really. And I kind of let it go for a while as I contended with student loans. But now that all that's paid for, I've been focusing back on writing. So I've been writing a ton of stuff. Been working with Marty on a few projects.
Yeah.
He knows his way around Hollywood.
Ivan's got great stuff. Really, really interesting, zany, great characters, great ideas. Like not basic ideas. Like the ideas that Ivan has for cartoons, for animated comedy stuff is like not like workplace boring comedy. It's like out there, like whole new, universes of, the whole show is something so cool. So, and you've got like multiple versions of that. Like, it's not just like one great idea. You've got like a ton of ideas with tons of zaniness. Yes, Bob.
Yeah. Ivan, is your series online based on what you're working on for TV? Is there any correlation?
That's a good question. Originally, I kind of wrote, so when I was, this is a webcomic I was doing called D.D. Sawyer, Ghoul Destroyer. And when I was originally pitching it to this company, we had to pitch basically a whole first season. And I think the contract was for 48 episodes. So I had to pitch, a loose, like one sentence per episode, what would happen, 1 to 2 sentences of XYZ happens here, and then this happens here, and then this happens here. And I structured the whole season like an 8-sequence movie, basically, and then broke it down within those sequences with the whole idea that I could turn it into a TV series and just make each of the sequences be a 22-minute TV episode.
Okay.
And then the season would be 8 to 10 episodes, sort of thing.
Ivan, can you give us a couple of pitches? A couple, like a 1-minute sample pitch?
Yeah, give us your elevator pitch. We're in an elevator.
Just
We
so I
just
can-
walked in.
Just so I can feel it, man. I want to feel it.
It's just me, Michael, and Spielberg.
Yeah.
Crowded
For this
elevator.
one, I broke it down to like a series of 7-word pitches, which I don't really remember that well now, but it was teenage girl fights ghouls and saves world. And so basically what it was a teenage girl that has a secret power that she didn't know was being handed down to her on the women's side in her family, that she was able to see these interdimensional ghouls that were coming in and kind of feeding off of people.
Oh my!
And so then,
little H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah,
like From Beyond.
You know what's actually really funny about this one is I was reading more about what conspiracy theorists are talking about with like the lizard people and stuff.
Yeah,
and I was like,
Illuminati.
man, I'm getting a lot of similar themes here. That it's
what
like
the hell's up
people
with
that
the
are
Kraken?
You've got a great built-in crazy fan base, Ivan.
Yeah.
I
was trying to anticipate, like, should I play up to that crowd? Should I say this is this? Or should it be because I had another TV series that I've been pitching on and off, but it's called QAnonics Anonymous originally. And it was two conspiracy theorists who get sentenced to community service for a unnamed crime that they committed. And they basically have to go to, it's essentially Alcoholics Anonymous for conspiracy theorists.
And this is for kids?
No, this one is not.
This is a kiddie show? This is Saturday morning?
No,
Bob,
this one,
kids can be
I'm jumping
alcoholic.
around here.
I'm trying to follow.
Yeah, I'm jumping around a bit. The lizard people got me on that other subject. But
I did
so the first one,
that the Daily Caller is developing kid shows. So that actually might be something that they would do.
I think that was an episode of King of the Hill too.
Yeah.
Did they?
No, I don't know. Who is the guy, the insect?
Dale?
I love Dale.
Yeah. But
when does Mr.
so
Peanut become a man and a nut?
that guy that voices that character does a bunch of songs on his YouTube channel in the Dale voice and dresses up like him and just does like very crazy versions of it. It's worth a viewing.
I'm there.
But Bob, I was going to ask you. You actually went to school for screenwriting and stuff, right?
I did, but I didn't go initially to college for that. I went for animation, and then I realized I wasn't good at it. I was a photo major, and animation was too difficult.
What did you find difficult about it?
Well, at that time, this is going back down to like the 1930s, I was drawing each cell individually, and you had to make like thousands of cells and stuff. It was so much work that I kind of ran out of gas, and I switched over to be an illustrator.
That's wild. Were you doing like animated shorts, like 3 to 5 minute things, or?
Oh, I never completed anything.
You just got to animate on the 6s instead of the.
Yeah. When did Mr. Disney finally fire you for drinking Bestine on the job?
Yeah, I never got that far, but then I took screenwriting classes only a few years ago because I just got into this podcast called Write Your Own Screenplay, and I enjoyed it so much. And I told the teacher how much he was like, he was teaching me not just screenwriting, but he was teaching me how to teach. And at that time, I was teaching at Pratt and SVA and stuff, and it was very helpful just watching him teach and motivate students. So I got into it for that reason. And then I've liked doing screenwriting. It's a lot of fun. And I have a couple of books that I was approached about movies. So I wanted to do the screenplay for them myself.
That's great. So you went from animating 24 frames per second to just doing one drawing to just describing drawings.
I went from failing at animation to failing at screenwriting, and to failing at all these different fields.
Bob is a renaissance man at failure.
Thank you. So I want to teach a master class.
Ivan is a graduate of a fine Jesuit institute, Loyola Marymount, and I want to know. And you were a psychology major, so I would like to know, how damaged are you?
Well, pretty damaged. But I actually went to school with psychology as a pre-law major because I was convinced I was just going to go be an attorney for 10 years and save all my money and then not do anything after, maybe work on movies. But I'd given up on creative stuff. I was like, there's no hope in this world. I'll just do something that makes a lot of money. And my older brother went to LMU and he got the presidential scholarship to get a full ride to LMU, to Loyola Law School. So I figured, I'll do that too. Turns out I came in second on the scholarship to law school. So the whole thing was a bust for me. And I decided not to spend any more money on school and just started working in construction.
Well, don't worry. You would have come out during the great lawyer recession. So
yeah, it was right around then.
Yes. Lawyers were decimated about 2004.
Yeah. It was so many people trying to be attorneys that there are people that spent, $120,000 on schooling and then were just one of 50 lawyers on staff making $30,000 a year. So I decided I was literally, and so I had a psychology degree from like a pretty good school, and I was getting paid more to literally dig ditches.
Too late. That's going viral.
You get paid a lot more to dig ditches.
Yes.
So Maury, here's our clip. We have our blurb.
Yeah.
Do you do many psychology jokes? Are you traveling that well-worn trope?
I try to, but it never really works. Because, it's one of these things, like the more you know about something, the more specific the joke is. And it would really work well for other people who studied psychology. And anyone else, they're like, I don't get that. Why is that funny? So you need to do things that the general public has understanding of, that 8 out of 10 people are going to get. And you can't get too specific with things like that.
No, I've not seen a really good industrial psychology joke in a while. So
yeah,
but that's a good point you made. I agree.
Yeah, it's like what is that quote for Are you trying to seduce me, Mrs. Robinson? You know, like if you quote it accurately, everyone's like, that quote is wrong. That's not how it is. So everyone has a general understanding of how things are. And if you get too specific and accurate, even if it's correct, people think, oh, you're wrong. And it detracts from the joke. So you kind of have to play to what general people understand.
My favorite psychology joke is, how many psychologists does it take to change a light bulb?
How many?
Just one. But the psychologist really has to want to change. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Oh, gosh. Have you seen the movie Lucy and Desi?
No. Is that the Aaron Sorkin one?
Yeah.
It is.
It is.
I saw it. Torpid, my friend.
I saw the beginning of it, and, you know, I get what he was doing. I get it. It was like it's like the behind-the-scenes dramatic part of the hilarious, beloved sitcom that was the best sitcom ever and invented the entire genre. And I think they could have just shown some comedy. Just some. Not a ton, but just any. Just any comedy would have been really helpful for people that didn't watch I Love Lucy marathons like I did growing up. Like if you were homesick from school, you sat in the chair and you watched like 10 episodes of I Love Lucy in a row because that's all they showed reruns of on television when I was a kid. So I watched it. But if I didn't have that knowledge of like what every episode was, I would have no idea what that Lucy and Desi, the Ricardos movie was really about, because nobody has the context.
Well, the reason why I brought it up is because I was thinking about you listening to a podcast about that documentary discussing the dynamics of a husband and wife both being creative, and your wife is creative. And I just wanted to hear, you know, how you're dealing with that. Also, as a psych major, I feel like that's the perfect storm. I'm curious to know, because I've been in collaborations, and it fascinates me, the dynamics of like a working partnership, and does it work for you?
Yeah, well, you know, one thing I'll say, we do very different things. I do cartooning and writing and things like that. My wife, she actually went to school for digital art, and she paints, but her main gig is like styling and wardrobe design and stuff like that. So that's the one point that we really intersect, is where I'll write scripts, and if I'm putting together like a pitch deck or something, I'll go to her and say, hey, can you come up with some ideas for costume design, for costume ideas that'll, you know, really stand out and be memorable sort of things. And it's so good because she has so many questions that I never consider when writing something.
Yeah.
And so she really does bring in a completely different outlook, perspective, and like she asks, I mean, things that you should know about your character when you're writing, but you don't always know. You know, she says like, and even like, what season is it? What time of year is it? Do they run hot? Do they run cold? Do they tend to overdress? What type of neighborhood do they come from? Are they good dressers? Things like that. And it does help fill out the character as well. So thus far, it's been an excellent team up for anything we've worked together on.
Well, you're both very talented. I people won't know, but I've seen your work on the side of a work. I'm telling you, this guy really has the chops. I've seen some of your proposed New Yorker cartoon covers, and New Yorker covers. That's what I meant to say. And they're beautiful. They're really great. And of course, your wife has also done some work for me at the publisher place that I work with, as well as you. So I'm seeing both of you guys really, you know,
how often do you guys do New Yorker cover comps? How often do artists and cartoonists work up comps for the covers, and how does that even work? How does that process work? It's a different art director than the cartoon people, right?
Oh yeah, I used to do a lot more. I tried to do something where every week I would do a batch of cartoons, a cover pitch, and a daily shouts pitch, and it wore me down from just doing way too much. So now I'll do one of the three, but cover pitches take so much longer for me because other sketches, you know, I could I could draw pretty quick, but things like that, to design it properly,
Yeah.
it takes me so long.
I used to do like 4 to a batch and send them once every 2 months. And I did that. Yeah, and I did that for years. I was encouraged. I was told I was very close each time, but I never did get a cover.
Yeah.
Well, Bob, I have a beautiful story. I used to do a lot of copywriting for Bob Mankoff when he was the captain of the cartoon bank. So I was in New York in the office and just farting around. I went over and I started looking at the big wall of proposed covers, right? And I'm just kind of looking at him. And he kind of walks by and he says, "Don't even think about it." And I never did.
Oh, that's a shame. Well,
maybe not.
Michael, you could do it now. You could pitch cover ideas. I'd love to see your work on the cover. That'd be great.
I don't know. Let's think about that one for a minute.
Of course, it has to be captionless.
Do they do a cartoon issue of the magazine where a cover of the magazine is cartoons?
Well, they just had last one was a George Booth, I know. And
yeah.
They don't have cartoonists on the cover like they used to. Not at the frequency they used to anyway.
Danny Shanahan had done a lot, and he's no longer with us. And there's a couple of other artists who have passed away. There was a time in which I want to say Tina Brown, as the editor, was heavy on the cartoons on the cover.
Here was the Ed Koren cartoon issue. The cartoonists go to war. This was when we were ready for the fight.
What year was that you're holding up, John?
1943.
It's an old issue that you pulled out pretty quick.
November. Oh, I just keep it near my heart.
Yeah.
November 12th, 2001.
Oh, okay.
Here you go.
Ivan, to bring it back to you, are you having all these pictures you're doing for TV shows and stuff? Do you have a partner?
Not at this point. For a lot of the animated stuff, I was working with Marty on a few projects, and a lot of the other ones I've been pitching. For animated projects, you usually have to have animation studio that you're already signed up with, that you go and then you go together and you pitch to, Netflix or Hulu and things like that. So a lot of the stuff I've been doing has been with animation studios to try to work together, where it's like, I'm the creative and here's the production studio that can make it happen once you give us the go ahead, sort of thing. So creatively wise, it's been kind of me doing it, but with a lot of backup ready to go.
Yeah, that's hard to do. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. I get very hyper focused on things, is what I found. So I've been working on a new series pitch. I'm trying to do a live action pitch, which I haven't done before. And it's not going to give too much away because I haven't started pitching it yet. But it's like a supernatural thriller sort of thing. And I think I really have to have the ending nailed down. So normally you would just write like the pilot episode and then a sentence or two about what the next episodes would be. But this one, I'm actually writing the whole first season, so I can really know all the way through that it's going to work, that the end payoff is good, instead of selling the cool idea and then being like, can you do it now? And going, oh, no, I don't. Ah, shit. I thought I could.
That's like how they did Lost, right? Like they planned Lost
exactly.
like hardly. They sold everybody on Lost, and then they did it, and then they were like, we don't know what's gonna happen. And then they were kind of just like writing themselves in circles for like 3 seasons. And then they finally figured it out kind of, and then they had an ending, and everyone was like, no.
For like sitcoms or ideas that are episodic, you don't really need that. You can just kind of tie it together at any point.
Yeah, there's no arc. There's no overarching long. There's no long legendary tale.
But if you're asking a question at the beginning, you better answer it, and it better be a cool, good, interesting answer.
And there's usually a conceit that goes away if the show gets popular. It's like no one cares that Tom Hanks wasn't dressed in drag anymore in Bosom Buddies.
Yeah,
and no one cares that Elaine and Jerry once dated. You know, And it was
Yeah,
all a dream.
all the first or second season stuff definitely washed away by the fourth or fifth
Yeah.
or sixth. It
But
didn't
it's fun to
matter.
watch a series slowly lose steam and go down the drain because they haven't quite figured it out.
Yep.
Mrs.
Great fear of
Maisel,
mine.
are you listening?
Which one?
Oh, Mrs. Maisel.
Oh,
It's just sad.
I haven't seen enough of it. I watched the first couple of episodes of that, and I haven't really gotten
I'm
back
trying to
into
catch
it.
back up. I'm watching The Gilded Age right now. It's really
Oh,
taking
so
off.
good. So good. Love The Gilded Age.
Speaking of costumes, it's just uncomfortable to watch them move from room to room with so much shit on them.
So much stuff. So many layers. Everything. So many buttons and clasps. And I don't know how they went to the bathroom without like 9
with,
helpers.
Yeah, with Edgerton, when they start, engaging in foreplay, and it takes them 35 minutes to get the corset off.
That's like one good thing about being a cartoonist. Most often, you don't have to have that type of costumes and stuff.
No. We were talking, Bob, you showed me a cartoon today with someone who can't draw an elbow, so they just made the arm go on forever. So I was thinking about anatomical issues because I noticed Ivan draws a very sinewy hand and fingers.
yeah.
The fingers are very muscular.
Yeah, we were going to bring that up.
Were you a finger guy or what?
I go Egon Schiele.
Yeah, see, I was thinking of Egon Schiele. I mean,
Very much.
German
I love his painting so much. Oh man, I've gone even more in that direction lately. I like it. I think it's so interesting. I really like those fingers being expressive and like gesturing and doing stuff like that. It
really makes the cartoons funnier.
Yeah, and I know.
Well, it gives
does.
him this kind of woodblocky angst, like this German heavy drum and string and schmaltz,
I can see that.
etc.
Yeah.
You draw nice lips too, I noticed.
Oh, thank you.
Don't
That's
be
the
ashamed.
most sensual part of the body, the fingers and the lips. So you gotta, you nail those, the rest of it falls into place.
No one looks at the rest.
Ivan's got some sexy cartoons. It's
He
a
does.
It's a nice
shame.
lip. I mean,
It's a shame that Playboy is not taking cartoons anymore. It sounds like Ivan would be just knocking them out of the park over there.
I submitted to them a few times and never heard back, but they paid really well. I know that.
They did.
Back in the day.
Yeah, it's
I
ages
emailed
ago.
them. I was like hunting down people that still maybe had any sort of editorial say so or knew somebody at some level of publishing at Playboy, and I wanted to bridge weekly humorists' humor and cartoons into I wanted them to say, we want to feature humor and cartoons again. We'll take your best stuff and just republish it or something like that, like an affiliate association. And then I haven't heard. I don't even know who to talk to. I emailed like 2 people and they added me on LinkedIn, but then they never wrote me back. So if anyone knows how I can get a hold of the editorial people at Playboy, I wanna put weekly humorous stuff in Playboy and see if that helps.
The lesson there, Marty, is stay the hell out of LinkedIn. It's death.
You know what's funny? Talking about magazines that show that sort of subject matter and hunting. I sent a bunch of, when I was first getting started, I sent a bunch of cartoons to, I think it was Hustler. And I sent like a hard copy, a bunch of images in it. And then the guy emailed me back and was like, you can just email me in the future. Don't worry about sending hard copies. Reply back to this email, beaverhunter4@hotmail.com or something.
No, that was not Ivan. That was a Field and Stream.
Yeah,
that's the art. That's the art director there.
No,
I sent him a bunch
no,
of
Bob.
stuff.
That was Women's Wear Daily.
that was
thank you.
that was Beaver
That's-
fan.
no,
at
Bob.
Marty is right.
That's Bob's screen name on Tinder
And I
And
get a lot
LinkedIn.
of followers.
and LinkedIn.
It was my mom's idea. I got a lot of
Well,
followers.
Ivan, do you know Bill Collins, cartoonist at the Hustler?
No.
He's like the nicest guy in the world. He lives in, I think he still lives in Ohio.
You know what? Maybe
somewhere.
that was him actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't
And
know.
it's-
I never met him. We just we emailed back and forth a few times.
He did a whole online series called Cartoons That Are Certain to Send Me to Hell.
What?
Not the
Sorry.
showstopper.
That's a show. No, he did a series of cartoons called Cartoons That Are Certain to Send Me to Hell.
Oh,
They
great.
were lovely.
That
He said he
sounds like
put 2, 3
something like Tom Chaney would be great at.
Yes.
I love Tom Chaney.
Ivan, do you have any contact with Tom? I was trying to reach him, I'm a fan. I was going to invite him on the podcast, and he's like the one cartoonist who I never got. He's in Hawaii.
Yeah,
I know
he
that.
doesn't like this kind of thing, but I have his email.
Neither
if
do
you wanna
I.
get him up there. Yeah, no, I do have his email, but I'm sure he won't do it.
Oh, I don't want to intrude on his privacy, but
No,
yeah.
he's so great. We talk a lot, and I really like his work. It's
He's like one of the few New Yorker cartoonists that's not afraid to go there.
mhm.
He
I
went.
mean, he did go
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, he went there. You're absolutely right. Ziegler did that once in a while, and I'm thinking of the cartoon where the two guys were at the bar, and the one guy says he just did one in his diaper. There's occasions like that, but Tom does it more frequently.
Oh yeah, well, I grew up on Sam Gross in the National Lampoon. I didn't even know he was in the New Yorker. And when I first met him, I go, I love this cartoon where this guy is doing that. He goes, stop talking about all my dirty cartoons.
Michael, back then when Sam was doing those cartoons, a lot of PC Vay's cartoons were dirty. He changed his style and the tone.
Oh yeah, I have a National Lampoon of I forgot what it's called, like truly tasteless cartoons.
Yeah, 1,000
Actually,
tasteless cartoons.
There's actually a Bob Mankoff in there.
Really?
And it's not even tasteless. And what's funny is on the back with the credit, it doesn't say Bob Mankoff, it says Mankoff. It's like
That's funny.
Karloff.
Yeah.
Boris Karloff would only use his last name. So
Michael,
Is the guy's name Cheney?
Yeah.
no, it's just one Cheney.
Is it Tom Cheney?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom Cheney.
And he used to do a lot of stuff for Mad.
Yeah.
And it was real funny, and it was real, it was funny for like a teenage humor. It wasn't like dirty. But then I follow him on Instagram, and his stuff can be so adult and so dirty on Instagram. Like the stuff that's on Instagram that I'm sure is cleaner than his other stuff. But the stuff that he puts on Instagram is so dirty. And I'm like, oh, I love this guy. I like his style was like an inspiration to me when I was, I was studying more trucker, and I would use, he was influential too. And I'm looking at his stuff now, and it's like so sexual and so much S&M and all this like stuff. I'm like, wow, so different.
I was impressed. Sorry, Mario. I was impressed by how assiduously he would draw fecal matter.
Yeah.
No one could draw poop like Cheney.
He also had a style that set it up. Before you read the punchline, the way he would draw the scenery and set it up, you kind of brace yourself for something that was going to be dirty.
Yeah.
A little bit. It kind of lent itself to it.
Oh man, I wish I had this guy's book in front of me. He turned me on to another cartoonist that I didn't know that well. I'd only seen him in those books of like the truly tasteless cartoons. It was a very loose style. I think he might have been Brazilian.
Was it Rodriguez?
Yeah, I think it was
Rodriguez.
Charlie.
Yeah.
That guy.
Very
that guy
complex.
That dude is nuts. Yeah, big, super duper, a million lines in it, but yeah, really good stuff.
Came from like a super religious family.
Yeah, he's a devout Catholic and refused to make fun of the Pope.
I met his family.
One comic I had, I used to do indie comics at like WonderCon and things like this. I'll put out zines and little underground comics. And one of them I did with my older brother. I don't remember how it started, but I think we were trying to get excommunicated. And we thought it would be really funny. And so we did a comic strip called Meet Me at the Altar, Boy. But it was all about priests.
We could cut this.
We'll add more to this.
But it was my best-selling comic I've ever had.
We'll make the whole podcast just a small segment.
Yeah.
Just me saying I was big dicks in this.
I was an altar boy. Were you an altar boy?
No, I was like nowhere near the church. My older brother was raised very Catholic, and by the time I came around, my parents had had enough. So I was nowhere near any churches at all.
That's a sweet story.
I'm so well adjusted.
I think that easing is probably for sale at the Loyola Marymount bookstore.
You know, I used to do cartoons for the Loyola newspaper, and there was one that I had. There was some like innocuous statement that that the head guy had said that was like, oh, we're going to continue raising tuition if you guys don't stop partying and trashing these dorms. But he had some sentence that was like, if you don't cut it down, we're going to cut down your privileges or something. And then I drew a drawing of him walking around, like cutting off like people's legs or something. It was really gory. and he looked horrible. And I was like, and I did it as a big fuck you. I was like, there's no way they're going to print this. I'm going to make it as horrible as possible just so I could be like, fuck you, you didn't run it. And then they ran it. And I got so many really, really, really mean letters from so many people.
Oh
and
my.
I was like, I know I have found my path. This is where I need to go.
You had
It's
an
exciting.
epiphany.
It's exciting to get a huge reaction from doing like an editorial cartoon, or you draw a joke or you draw something and it's based in an idea, and then it resonates and people get the idea and they understand what your whole point was just because of one image that you drew.
Yeah.
And that's very powerful way to
It's
communicate.
nice. I do enjoy it.
I'm glad no one knows where I live. Personally.
I know.
I just want to say, a reminder, Ivan's been in the Los Angeles Times recently, the Boston Globe, and I encourage people to go to his Facebook page, befriend him, and go back and look at some of these pieces that we're talking about, because you have an excitement about your style. Your style is like really makes you sit up and pay attention. I really like that. And I'm a fan.
I am too.
That's very kind
In
of you.
fact,
That's a very generous thing. Thank you.
I went
Bob.
to the cartoon stock and looked at your work, and it's crazy. I mean, so is the New Yorker trying to calm you down, or because they did that to me too? Don't let them bring you down, man.
Yeah, no. You guys know Michael Gerber with
Sure.
American Bystander. Yeah, when I first started, I sent him stuff, and he was like, "Wow, you're a wild man. I love it." And then I just started. Actually, Mad Magazine asked me to tone it down because they said my drawings were too gross, and I said it's too gross for Mad. Oh my God, what's
You
wrong
did
with
something. I am proud of you.
And then when it came around to the New Yorker, I was like, there's no way on earth in this current state it's going to be bought. So then I just tried to figure out a pipeline, and at that point it was, if the New Yorker didn't buy it, then maybe Mad would, and if Mad wouldn't, then Wall Street Journal, and if not them, then this, and this, or Alta. So I was trying to figure out something that could hit each one of those spots and not be too specific.
Yeah, don't worry. Marty will take anything.
I'm right there at the bottom. I'm ready. Just waiting down here.
He's a catfish. He's a bottom feeder.
I'm right there at the
He really
bottom.
is.
He's
I was
coy.
one of the first people to publish his horrible, gross cartoons.
When you start
I
doing
put 'em
just weekly humorous, join me in group therapy. That's the last stop on that train ride.
Your stuff, your really early, your early stuff is definitely like the stuff that was very Trumpy. It's like his face was just like melting off, and his hair was just like everywhere, and he was just like greasy and just like he was so unpleasant.
I would throw in as many vaginas as I could. So I would make this look like
I know that.
Make his neck look like a vagina. I'd make his ears.
Okay.
Like if you have heart disease, you get a fold on the bottom of your ears. So that was wishful thinking. I would throw that there.
Such detail.
I don't agree with all your work. That was a little overboard.
That's great. I loved it.
It's like Hirschfeld hiding Nina in the hair.
Yeah. I had the very first piece that I ever sold. I only got into cartooning again. I did it in college, and then I stopped for 15 years, and I only got back into it because it seemed like Trump might get elected. And I was like, oh, fuck, this must not be
Did
so.
that happen?
That mobilized so many people to comedy. Like Ron Hagee also, I know, is an influence of yours. He jumped right back into just because it was the way that he could cope with the world. Yeah.
And
we're gonna air this podcast after the Biden election.
Yeah.
Good. So do you think after all the Trump, all the energy directed toward Trump, it's difficult to like direct anything toward Biden? You just feel like you don't want to hurt him because he feels so old and frail. And
yeah, that's an interesting thing because like I did a piece mocking Biden for the Boston Globe recently, but it was more mocking him because of how he's getting pushed around by others. but it's one of these things like, what if you would mock Trump, it would be, you would hope some good would come of it, you know. And if you mock Biden, all that's going to happen is the people that are on his side are going to go, oh, what's wrong with you? And the people that are against him are going to weaponize it and use it against you and make it even. There are some cartoons that I had that were so good, but I knew all they had to do was change out a name or a word, and they could flip it and use it against people. And I was like, oh, I can't do that. It's
They
going to
could
be
use it for evil. You don't want to
yeah,
be
they
able
would use
to.
it for evil, exactly.
It's like you're
Well-
making like an H bomb or whatever, and you're like,
Right.
this is a bad
You're-
idea. I shouldn't make.
You're being used for evil. I mean, that's kind of cool.
I did
Yes.
that enough through middle school and high school.
Ivan, I think the way you put that is a great way to wrap it up, because I do want to be respectful of your time. You demonstrate you're doing the Lord's work.
Well, thank you, Bob. This is a wonderful time. Thank you guys so much for having me.
We're going to have you on again.
Yes, Ivan, go forth and draw some more.
You're going to grow. You're only getting bigger.
You're like
and
a
I do-
Jesuit. You're in formation.
Yes. Well put.
I'll
Where can
pontificate better
people-
next time.
And people can follow you on the Instagram and the Twitter at Ivan Ehlers or Ivan_Ehlers, I think.
Yeah, Instagram is where I post most of my stuff.
All right, I
That's-
got one more question, though. Where
Oh,
did the
yeah.
exclamation point come from?
Oh, yeah. Well, two directions. One, I'm half Ecuadorian. I don't know if you guys know that. So,
Ecuadorian. That's
would
what it
write a lot of
was.
stuff in Spanish. And, you know, there you write like the
Right.
the
you need
exclamation
an
mark one way, like we do in America.
inverted
then
in front.
inverted in front. And so when I would write Ivan with an I, lowercase I, it would look like an exclamation mark.
Very
upside
sexy.
down exclamation mark. Of course, that would make my name Van. But so it's just one of these things that
No, we get it. We get
felt
it.
fun.
But now
I knew
when
the
I say
artist
your
would get
name,
it.
but now when I say your name, I have to say Ivan.
Yeah, I had a teacher in high school, and he, every time I would walk into the room, he would go, Ivan! And he said, gosh, there was a Pedro Almodovar movie, Woman on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown.
Ah,
And
yeah.
I guess every time the character came in, they would go, Ivan! And so I just
That's
got used
good.
to it. And one
I
half
like
of
it.
my family always just calls me Ivan! Ivan! So that's kind of where it came from, too.
And speaking of which, we should spell your name so people can find you easy. Just as you're typing in your place for your web comics, it's EHLERS.
Thank you.
And Marty, can you
With
just
an Ivan
repeat,
in front of it.
yeah, can you repeat that address one more time where you can find his work?
You could go to Instagram at Ivan_Ehlers.
You got it.
Thanks.
And you can find him on Twitter. But most of all the stuff's on the Instagram. He's very active on there. He's in the there's a very tight knit cartoonist community on Instagram and everyone kind of supports each other's stuff. I see Ivan is always sharing other people's cartoons. If he sees something, everyone kind of tries to boost up their visibility on Instagram. He's part of a great new crop of cartoonists that's out there doing great work.
And then there's
Everyone
me
should
and Bob.
follow him.
Yeah, then there's
then-
me and
then-
Michael.
And then there's Bob and Shaw. Hey, they're there.
Come on.
Look for
What
us
the
on
hell is
Link-
going on? Seriously, what is going on?
Look for us on LinkedIn.
I'm on MySpace.
I know. I'm on AOL.
I'm on
loving it.
Friendster. It's fine. I like it on Friendster. It's quiet.
You know, one final note about that. I remember I was talking about doing many comics and zines way back in the day, and this must have been like 2010 or something, 2008, 2009. And I had on my comic book, I had my email on the bottom, and it was an AOL address. And this was in Oakland, and they were like, "Oh, wait, no, we're not buying that. He's still using an AOL address."
I'm at
Ugh,
Hotmail.
I was like, are you kidding? I was like, "That's a joke. You can't be serious." And they're like, "No,
The
thanks."
snobbery. Wow. Yeah. I still have, I have my regular Gmail. I got Gmail when first Gmail came out. I got my, my name at Gmail. But I still have an AOL address that I'll never be able to get rid of because like really, really, really old things are still attached to that. And I just can't bear to let it go. So I
Like
can't.
a Domino's account, right?
Exactly. Like my Domino's account, like My GeoCities account, probably. Who knows?
Excellent.
Your secret family.
My secret the only way they can contact me is through my AOL account.
My address is Pipeline.
Yeah, what is
Yeah.
Pipeline?
You know-
I thought that was like your website.
It's like, no, it's the
Let's
first
roll
thing.
An envelope and a stamp, I ask you.
Thank you,
Lord,
Michael.
people.
What about a dove? What about using birds?
Yeah.
Telegram
I just
just
had a cartoon about that in my last batch. It did not sell.
Surprise, surprise. Well, join the club. We'll go out for a drink over that.
Sounds good.
Anyway, Ivan, I want to thank you for coming on. This was a lot of fun. We all wish you the best success. It's exciting to see all the different places you're conquering, and we're going to look forward to seeing more of it.
Well, thank you, Bob. That's very sweet of you. I appreciate it.
Let me say goodnight to everyone. Thanks, everyone, for listening, all your cartoon lovers and cartoonists out there. Until next time, so let it be written, so let it be drawn.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Amen.
And unto you.